Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 312.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because we're going to talk about that thing, that thing that's going to help you build your cash flow, become that bigger, better, badder investor, and most importantly, it might even help you just become a better person. Because whether you realize it or not, the person that you are in business is the same person you kind of take everywhere you go. And we need to work on that guy, that gal, because if we do that together, you have a shot at increasing your influence. You have a shot at increasing your abilities. And most importantly, you have a shot at increasing your cash flow. And who knows, you might make a few friends along the way to boot. Well, what are we talking about today? A while ago, I wrote an article called You Will Never Out-Earn Your Personal Growth. Why? Because I believe it's 100% true. And today's guest has spent 30 years dedicated to the personal growth industry. He's written 9 books. We're talking a radio and TV host. You got to understand something. This isn't his first rodeo. He's even been called Mr. Motivation and the #1 life coach in the United States. So, what does that mean to you today? It means it's time to take some notes. It's time to be ready to be challenged because I'm going to bet you're going to hear something that you're going to be like, ooh, I knew I should have done that already. And I'm just going to ask you to do it. So let's listen to Mr. David Essel. David, you there?
Hey, Jay, nice to be with you. And I love what you just said, take notes, unless you're driving.
Well, they can bookmark it while they're driving. They have this little feature where they can bookmark that little spot so that they have the ability to come right back to it. So they have a way. They trust me. They have a way. There's an app for like everything these days. So welcome. Okay. So I've got to start this by asking you the same question I ask everybody else the first time. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So I look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. So when you think Batman, Robin, Black Panther, whomever, you've got all of these people in comic books. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton in common. For example, occasionally an entrepreneur, we get dressed up. We put on, our own versions of capes and tights and we fly around and save people, customers, in various different ways. Well, also like a superhero, before Spider-Man was climbing on walls, he was just taking photos. He was kind of a student. He had a beginning, an origin, if you will. So what we want to know is before your #1 best-selling book, by the way, I love the title for everyone else. It's Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. Love it. But before the book, before the TV, before the radio, before all of the acclaims from Jenny McCarthy and Wayne Dyer, before all of that, we want to know, who is David Essel?
Oh, Jay, great question. Well, tights come into this answer.
Okay, this is going to be good.
Tights come into this answer. As a matter of fact, I started a long time ago, and in it was around 84, I was in Shape magazine as one of the top male aerobic instructors in the United States of America. And one of my first videos, the beach workout, we were in full tights.
Nice.
Doing the work of that's so great what you said, superheroes become entrepreneurs or vice versa. And so, that's what I started in the world of health and fitness. Transferred when I got my master's degree in sports psychology. I went from the physical work in health and fitness into the psychological work, working with everything from bodybuilders preparing their mind for their events, basketball, tennis players, and then in 1990 we transferred into what's called the general population, where I went into the world of counseling and coaching combined. But it all started in tights, Jay.
How tight were they? No, don't answer that.
They were as tight as skin.
Yeah. Yep.
You could not separate. And, back then, that was normal. I mean, there weren't a lot of guys. There was this guy, Gilad from ESPN. There was myself. There was just a handful of guys in the early 80s that were leading the charge in the world of fitness through group exercise classes. And then, of course, over the years, it's exploded. You have guys doing spin classes and step classes and all that kind of stuff. But we dressed in those super tight tights, skin tight tights.
Yeah, I bet you right now you're probably glad that YouTube wasn't around.
Well, it's funny. There's a couple of videos out there still of our exercise videos that we get comments on a regular basis. It's quite hilarious. I will say that I'm glad I graduated out of that. I don't think that that attire would be accepted in the work I do today.
Let's hope it doesn't make a comeback. So, when we were talking a little bit before, I was telling you that I'm a proponent of personal growth, and I think that entrepreneurs in general, I mean, many of us, we get these seeds, we get these ideas, we want to make something happen, and we come up with reasons as to why we can't. For example, I know in the world that I live in, people often tell me, Jay, if I had the money, if I had the credit, I would be able to do the real estate. And oftentimes I find it's not really a lack of resources that's the issue. It's not that they don't have money or access to money or credit. It's kind of who they are. And that plays such a big role in the development. So I guess my question is, for those listening to you right now, those who are wanting to become bigger, better, badder business people and investors, take us through your journey, how you became and how you help other people become what ultimately is inside.
Well, it's an interesting question. There's two parts of the mind, and people understand these words, but I'm going to define them a little bit to tell you what's blocking us from maximizing our potential.
Okay.
The conscious and the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is the mind of intent. I'm going to earn $150,000 this year. I'm going to earn $1 million. I'm going to earn whatever it might be. Or maybe it's going to be in regards to real estate. I'm going to have 15 rentals this year, property rentals. I mean, I'm gonna. So we have all these great ideas and great intentions, and we tell other people we're worthy of it, and we tell other people it's our time. We're going to rock it now because we went to this seminar, because we went to this weekend workshop, because we blah, blah, blah. If we are not acting upon those intentions with 100% energy, that's because there's something much more powerful than the conscious mind, and that's the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, Jay, runs the show. And how do we know if the conscious mind and the subconscious are in alignment? Is that you do what you say. It's that simple. If you get up and you've been procrastinating and saying, I'm going to make that first rental investment. I'm going to invest in X. I'm going to invest in Y. I'm going to invest in a business coach. I'm going to invest in something else. And you haven't done it. That's because there is no alignment between the conscious and subconscious mind. And so in my words and in our book, your intentions are a pathway to hell. Your intentions don't mean squat. And people talk big intentions, Jay, and I used to. How this is going to be my year, and I'm going to follow this guru, and I'm going to do this, and then at the end of 12 months, we haven't done very much at all. And why is that? So here we get into the definition of the subconscious. The subconscious is running the show, and its only concern is for you to continue to live life the way you are right now. It doesn't know the difference between good, bad, rich, poor, healthy, unhealthy. It doesn't know anything except for this, that it wants you to keep in this box, in this safety zone. Now, if you're a risk taker and you've been doing it for years, and when you say you're going to write the book, you actually go out and hire someone, or you start writing it, then that's a sign that both your conscious and subconscious mind are in alignment. But if you're the other type of person that's been talking for weeks or months or years how you're going to start this small-time business, or you're going to start investing, and you're going to start day trading, and you're going to start doing these things, but you're not doing it, that's because the subconscious is trying to keep you in this box so you don't rattle it, you don't lose, you're not going to risk because you're not going to lose. And what we want to do for all of our listeners is we want to help them get the intention, the conscious mind, lined up with the subconscious mind, and that's where people rock it.
Interesting. Okay, but I have a question then. You said you want to get the conscious mind in line with the subconscious mind, but wouldn't you want wouldn't it be the other way? The subconscious in line with the conscious? Or,
well, the alignment,
what am I?
You know what? And you're correct. The alignment is what we're looking for. And
okay.
what we want is that they are both going down the same path. That path. Now, here's something else interesting, Jay.
Okay.
The subconscious mind is formed between the ages of 1 and 18. So, like, I was raised in a very conservative.
Hold on. For some people, they just realize it's too late. So I understand that. So be gentle from this point forward, but I'm listening.
Amen, brother. So, I was raised in this extremely conservative household, lower middle class household. My dad was an accountant. My mom was a secretary at a school. And, everything was very frugal. Everything was by the book, pro and con list, the whole 9 yards. So I came out without any training whatsoever on what it's like to be an entrepreneur. But the thing I came out with was I did not want to live like that.
Right.
It doesn't mean that my mom and dad were wrong. It's just that to me, that was boring as hell, Jay.
Unfortunately.
I had one job my whole life. I got out of college. I had a job for 6 months and then I went out on my own.
Nice.
I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle reporting to someone else. Now, my dad did it for 50 something years, 60 years, and he was happy as could be. But let's say this. Let's say that you're not me and you were raised in a conservative household and your parents wanted you to get a good job, wherever that good job was, and just be quiet, shut up, do your work, and get a paycheck. But there's an internal part of you that wants something bigger. The problem is that from 0 to 18, it was drilled into your brain security. Well, you and I, Jay, know there's no such thing these days. Right. But it was so for us to go outside of that means we have to shatter the subconscious mindset that's all about security. And we need to learn how to become an entrepreneur, which is a huge jump for most of us. Now, if you were raised in an entrepreneurial household, like Harv Essel is a friend of mine. You're familiar with Harv Essel?
I am.
Okay. So if you read his book when it came out, or whenever someone would read it, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, he was raised in an entrepreneurial household, but his dad didn't have good money-making skills. So money management skills, I should say. So Harv had the drive to become an entrepreneur, but he also had his dad's lack of money management. So his dad would make a ton of money. They would party, lack of better word. They would have a great time. They would buy things. And then all of a sudden there'd be 6 months with no income coming in. And then every penny had to be saved. And they would go into the down under when it comes to spending money. Well, Harv repeated his dad's work. He came out as an entrepreneur, but he had no money management. So he did the whole roller coaster of his dad. And what Harv had to do, and I've got a great story in my book of how Harv changed my life. What Harv had to do is that he had to learn how to corral that entrepreneurial spirit with smart money management skills.
Got it. Now, there's something that you said that I think it is something that many people have experienced. I know I myself have experienced because yes, I too was told to go to school, get good grades, get a job, and I was supposed to be like a computer guy, math or science in some way because those things came natural to me, but they were boring and didn't want to do it, so something else had to happen. And I think a lot of people are experiencing and can probably relate to that until one day something shatters the mindset, i.e. they lose their job or a family emergency or something comes in from outside, out of their control that shakes it up, that forces them to actually consider something different or go, well, maybe everything that I thought was true isn't true. Is that what you're really talking about?
Yeah, it can be that, or it can be burnout.
I see.
We get to a place, like that's what happened with me. I mean, even though I only lasted 6 months.
Burned out in 6 months. He's like, it was a very short week. Got it.
Jay, I was burned out at week 2. The fact that I made it 6 months was the miracle.
Got it.
But, burnout is a great example, like overeating, over drinking, over smoking, watching too much television, overspending, all these things we use to avoid the reality that we are unsettled, unfulfilled, in an unloving, lovable position. All of these things come together to give people an opportunity to change. And what I found with most entrepreneurs is that that's how they get in to become entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs aren't born in entrepreneurial families.
Right.
They try to fit in. Bless our hearts. We try to fit in. We try to do what's right in the eyes of society, our family, et cetera. But eventually the burden is too intense. We've got to crack the shell, go out on our own, and to find out that we are outrageously creative beings that need to leave our mark in this world. And there's the walk of the entrepreneur.
Yeah. I can relate to that. My wife would say the same thing. She used to tell me back when I had a job that, I would rather you not have a job and us be homeless than you have a job because you are horrible to live with. I'm like, thanks, darling.
But Jay, that is so true. So let's say this with our listeners, those people that are on the fence and they want to risk and they want to grow and they want to start a business at some point, talk to your friends. Have you changed in the last 6 months, or your partner, or year, or 2 years? Have you gotten more negative? Do you gossip more? Are you more down on the economy or the administration? Are you complaining instead of doing something? Like, that would be a sign to me that it's time to jump, that it's time to risk. Steve Harvey has this amazing video on YouTube, and I just saw, I don't know when it came out. It hasn't been out that long, but his theory is to jump. And, and his whole philosophy in life has been that, when you jump and you have your parachute, there are going to be many jumps that it will not open. Mm-hmm. And you will hit land and you will bounce and you'll hit a rock and you'll bounce again. But get up, fly again, jump out, because the more you jump, the better your odds are. That's the world of being an entrepreneur, Jay, isn't it?
It feels that way in so many ways. I mean, one of the worst things that I believe that we do to ourselves is we've lost the skill of how to fail, and most specifically how to fail forward, fast, and frequently. And without that concept, or making that okay, I think many of us feel like, well, I can't try until I'm perfect, and that's a problem.
Yeah. Like, I've got to read one more freaking book. I've got to go to, I've got to go to one more seminar.
Right.
Before I'm ready. There's so many wonderful gurus in this world of business and personal growth that'll tell you, like Richard Branson from Virgin. He always says that whenever there's an opportunity that is too good to pass up, but you don't know how to do it, take it and learn along the way.
Yep, that's exactly how I operate. Drive some people nuts. I tell people all the time, I'm a fire, then aim, fire again, then aim, and then get ready, kind of guy. So they just learn to deal with it. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Now, but I have a question. How does one, because we've definitely diagnosed, we've recognized it. There are probably some people right now driving, listening, going, man, that's me. How do they fix it?
Well, this is the part that is the uncomfortable that becomes comfortable down the road. And that is this. What we've found in our work is that when an individual wants to radically change their existence with their money, and we're going to stay with money, with their money, they really want to have this unbelievable lifestyle where that they have time and money to enjoy a large amount of money that they want to make, is that they have to create a list. And now it's not action steps, Jay, and this is where it gets really important. They've got to create a list of steps they take on a daily basis that are uncomfortable in order to change. And let me go back to the conscious, subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is listening right now saying, yeah, that's me, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm different than my family, and I want to make a mark, and I want to make money, and that's all good intentions. Good for us for having those intentions. The subconscious mind, though, is in control because we haven't done anything different in 6 months or a year or 10 years or 20 years. So we know that the conscious mind is not in control. The subconscious is. The only way to flip the subconscious mind into becoming a risk-taking entrepreneur machine is to do what you would rather not do relating business and money every day. Now, in our work, what we found is that it takes about 365 days of a committed effort in order to align the conscious mind intent that I want to be a successful entrepreneur with the subconscious mind dragging its heels the whole way saying, let's play it safe. if we do what we would rather not, 5 days a week for 365 days, at the end of that year, you will be a radically changed man and woman in every area of your existence.
Gee, just 365 days?
And if we live to be 80 or 90, Jay, I get that response all the time. If we live to be 80 or 90, are you not willing to commit 365 days in a row to get what you really want? Are you not willing to do that?
Oh, well, I am.
I know. It's a rhetorical question.
But what I'm thinking about though is that, because I know somebody just said to themselves, and before they stop listening, I got to say this to you, because they can't. They're thinking, but Dave, I can barely keep a New Year's resolution past the second week of January.
I know. So let me tell you the Harv Essel story. When his book first came out, as you had mentioned, I've hosted a radio show for 26 years. When a New York Times bestselling book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, came out, I had him on immediately. And we bonded. We got along great. Our energy was similar, and we had so much fun. And during the interview, Jay, I kept saying, Harv, I want you to be my business coach. And this is when I was on XM radio. And he kept deflecting me. He kept deflecting, either saying, well, let's talk about that later. And so I bugged him so much, he finally, on the air, he said, okay. So we get off the air, and I said, okay, listen, I just want to hire you for, 3 months or 6 months. And Harv was laughing, and he goes, oh my God, David, listen, I'll give you one session. That's all it's going to take. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to hear. So we had our session, and the very first thing he said is, what's your goal? I said, I want to double my income. How soon? In 12 months. What's your current income? And I told him, and he goes, holy crap, that's a huge goal. I said, are you saying I can't do it? He goes, no. He goes, I'm just saying this is going to take a lot of effort. So I go, I'm willing to do it. And he goes, okay, the year before, what was your goal? I said, it's been the same thing for a couple years. Now that's a red flag, Jay.
Right.
If you have the same financial goal for a number of years, that's a red flag. And that's what he said to me. He goes, okay, we already have a red flag. I said, what do you mean? He goes, are you willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to accomplish that goal? I said, hell yeah, I'm a motivational speaker. Come on. And he said, did you do it last year? I said, yes, I did. And he goes, David Essel, you're in denial. And there was the silence just that you and I had, Jay. And I came back. I said, what do you mean I'm in denial? He said, if you would have done everything it takes for as long as it takes in the last 365 days, you would have doubled your income already, and you wouldn't be on the phone with me. So, number one, David, get out of denial. Number two, did you work 365 days in a row last year? No.
No. Right.
Why not? Well, aren't you supposed to have time off? He said, if you want to accomplish that kind of a goal, hell no. Are you serious, David Essel? But I said, yes. He said, well, you haven't been. Jay, this is the way my coaching session with Harv Essel went. Mm-hmm. It was mind-blowing, And so me, I'm going to talk about me. Maybe some of your listeners will understand this. I was talking a great game. I was making good money. I wanted to make great money, but I wasn't willing to do what it took to make great money. And before the end of the call, he goes, okay, what do you think the first step you have to do is? I go, commit 365 days in a row, work every day for 1 year. He goes, good. What's your second thing you got to do? And I was stumped. And I said, okay, Harv, you're the expert. Tell me. He goes, who's your business coach? I said, I haven't had one in 3 years. How come? So I go, Harv, I don't have an answer. He goes, you're right, because any answer would be an excuse. So this is what you do. You get a business coach today. You hire them and bring them on, and you work for 365 days in a row, and you will accomplish your goal. And Jay Massey, he was right.
Right.
And I did. But this is where the intention gets screwed up with the subconscious. My intention was so wonderful and big and broad and incredible, and it made me feel good to think about it, to write about it, my freaking affirmations and everything else I was doing,
right.
My vision boards and God knows what else, but I wasn't doing the work. And once I really committed and hired the coach and worked for 365 days, oh my Lord, did the heavens open up.
I like the way you say that. But this brings up a perfect segue, I think, to the title of this book we're talking about, because positive thinking will never change your life, but this book will. Explain.
Yeah. Well, for 30 years, I've been in the business. In 1996, I had this outrageous I'll say this teaching experience with one of the most incredible personal growth gurus who ever walked the earth. He's no longer with us, but he was the founder of Transcendental Meditation. To me, Transcendental Meditation, or TM, is the most effective form of meditation out there for me. There's millions of forms. It is by far the most widely studied form of meditation. And the guy's name was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He, in 1 hour interview on my radio show, he opened me up once again to denial, Jay. I'm finding a pattern. and he had said to me, he was, talking to me about goals and everything. And one goal I did not share with him on the air was for 20 years, I was trying to get out of my addiction and dependency on alcohol. And in my dependency on alcohol, I'm doing all this work. I'm writing books. I'm traveling the world as an inspirational speaker. I'm hosting radio shows, but I am dependent on alcohol. And I had justified it because that's what successful people do at the end of the day. That's what successful people do when they travel. We drink really good wine. It's a way to bond. It's all this kind of crap. And in this 1 hour interview, he asked me to evolve and to look in the mirror and to call myself out. Now, here's where the positive thinking comes into play. For 20 years before 1996, when I did that interview, I had woken up every day, Jay, and I had said this little mantra, this affirmation: I'm a child of God, healthy, happy, and sober today. I had said that affirmation for 20 years. I had been addicted and dependent on alcohol for 20 years. That is no different than someone waking up and saying, I am earning $1 million a year, or I have houses in Fiji, or some other crap that we feed ourselves because we learn them from personal growth business workshops, for God's sake, but they don't work. And so in that realm, in 1996, I shattered all my old teaching techniques. I took on a new form of David Essel. And then last year, I got fed up, Jay, with clients coming in, Skyping me for sessions, calling me for sessions, and saying, David, I've been doing these affirmations and vision boards and nothing's working. And finally, I just said, you know what? I got to write a book to dispel the myth of positive thinking. What you believe, you cannot necessarily achieve. Thoughts don't pop into things when we're talking about earning millions of dollars. And, and some of the people that say these quotes are friends of mine.
I understand.
Right? But they're wrong. And when I say they're wrong, is like, The Secret and the Law of Attraction. Those books are fabulous and fun to read, and they hold about 20% truth. So about what we've found in 30 years, about 20% of someone's massive success will be related to the way they think. 80% of their massive success will be related to their willingness to get uncomfortable at least 5 days a week for a year. That is the secret success formula of entrepreneurs, of bodybuilders. Jay, I still interview bodybuilders on my radio show, and I interview doctors. These people got to where they are by doing what they didn't want to do. Usain Bolt in the Olympics this year, the great sprinter from Jamaica, who, right. 80% of the world loves him and 20% just aren't awake. But, they did this little 3-minute interview, Jay, with him. And do you know, throughout the whole interview, he spent half of the time talking about how he hated training and how he hated getting up in the morning and how he hated his coach for forcing him to work out like he did. And they said to him, well, you hate all that, but what about the Olympics? He goes, oh my, this is glory. He said, this is the gravy. He goes, this is why I do all that hard work, but I still don't like that hard work. See, that could be the mindset of the entrepreneur. If you want the gold, the riches. Now, I'm not saying you have to do work you don't like to do. Like, I wouldn't sell something I don't believe in. I wouldn't do real estate if I didn't love real estate. I wouldn't get into commodities or day trading if I didn't enjoy it. I really believe I want to enjoy the work I'm doing. But even when you enjoy it, there will be things you don't want to do that the all-stars in life do anyway.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that the thought process of doing those things somehow gets confused with, well, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I should be able to have fun with everything that I'm doing, or I shouldn't have to do the things that I don't enjoy anymore. So I don't have to do them. And this isn't working out for me because it's not quote unquote fun all the time. have you noticed that on the way to where you want to go, there are things called obstacles. There are things that are in the way. There's job descriptions and responsibilities that you didn't even know that you were going to have to tackle. You were like, man, if they had told me this stuff, I might not have started. That's true. That's why it's important for you to start before you're ready. Make a commitment to see it through and work until you get to the goal. No more, hey, I will put in 10 hours, and if I can't do it in 10 hours, then it just must not work. No, you have to work until a goal is accomplished. Here's the cool thing. You can accomplish nearly any goal you choose to continue to work to until you do. Many skill sets to learn along the way. And here's the cool thing. They're skill sets. That means they can be learned. They're not innate abilities. So one of the best ways to learn new skill sets is from other people. I think that's why you listen to the podcast. But here, grab a copy of my book, Cashflow Diary, 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy. You can pick it up at cashflowdiary.com/free book. Cashflowdiary.com/free book. Go put in your name and email, and you'll be able to get a free PDF copy of the book, Cashflow Diary, 10 Steps to Creating Wealth in Any Economy. And for those of you who are like, man, I want the audiobook. Well, you go to the same place, cashflowdiary.com/free book, and we make you a special offer on the audiobook that you can't get anywhere else. And by the way, the audiobook contains content that is nowhere else. Not on the podcast, not in the course materials, not in my coach. It's nowhere else. So go grab it. Now, let's get back to the rest of the interview.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the misteachings of the law of attraction. And we write about that very thing that you just said, Jay. I'm so glad you brought it up in our book. We write about that with many teachers, not all, but many teachers of the law of attraction say that the steps to lose weight, make money, find great love, whatever it is, if they're not enjoyable, you're doing something wrong. And I shake my head and say, you got to be freaking kidding me. I go back to the example of Usain Bolt. He loves competition, but he's got to train to be good at competition. Like you may not love reading. You may not love having a mentor. You may not love having a business coach that you have to pay and be accountable to. But those are the steps that entrepreneurs take to become incredibly successful. So you're right, Jay. There's going to be things that we may not like. But that's what separates the all-stars from, the single A and double A players.
Well, what I find interesting about that is that oftentimes, and I'm assuming this happens to you, oftentimes I get approached, people asking me, okay, but Jay, what do I really need to do? Like, what's like the inside fast track? What is it really? And I'm like, that was it. I just said, did we not just say that? So I have to ask you for them. So Dave, what do I really need to do?
You know what? You need to get comfortable with risk, and you need to let go of the end result. Like if I would think of two real keys that entrepreneurs, all the entrepreneurs that I've worked with, who I've trained under, who I've interviewed, is that they're doing it because they really truly enjoy, the process of the involvement of whatever field they're in to make their money, to make their mark, to leave their legacy. But they really are letting go of the end result. In other words, people who play the stock market, I have many clients that play the stock market, and one of the things I teach them all is how to live a less stressed life at the end of the day.
Goodness gracious, you are a miracle worker.
It's tough, Jay. It is. It's really hard. But when we can do this work with incredible intensity and begin to let go of everything having to work out our way, then we don't take the failures or the losses with such heavy hearts, and we look at our successes and we appreciate them, but we don't get hung up there either. It's walking that tightrope.
Oh, this is good. This is good because, see, I know there's someone right now who is listening that's approached an investor and been told no. Someone who's written an offer and they said no. Someone who was in the middle of a transaction. Their hopes were up. They were doing the due diligence, all this other stuff, and then something came up and it fell apart at the last second. A buyer backed out, what have you. How do they do what you just said specifically as it relates to separating that themselves from that end result.
Love it. Love it. So this is what I do. I have my clients write down everything they did well for that transaction. I have them applaud themselves for all the detail work, everything they did, the dotted I's, cross T's, everything they did well. I want them to look at it and I want them to feel appreciative. Then I want them to get gut-wrenchingly honest and say, what did I drop? What did I not do? What did I say I was going to do, but I didn't? If there was a deadline to meet and I let my client pass the first deadline, then guess what? I set him up on a subconscious level to know it's okay to miss deadlines. I can't do that in the future. So we look at both sides of the equation, Jay, and we look at what we did well. We looked at the errors and the mistakes because there's always something we could do better. And then we go, awesome. Look at what we just learned. Let's apply it in the next deal. Are you ready? Let's go.
Yeah, I like that. See, and that's akin to what I was talking about earlier, is that the skill set of learning how to fail forward is it's not there. And I do find, however, that like athletes and musicians, they still possess that because they've experienced practice and having to practice and getting the note wrong and missing the starting gun and tripping over the hurdle or losing the game and getting back up and doing it again. But yet not everybody's been an athlete. Not everybody's been a musician. So I guess my question becomes is how do we make that part of our everyday existence so that it doesn't feel so devastating?
Jay, this is where, a professional consultant, a business coach, a mastermind group, which I love mastermind groups. This is where we need the ongoing outside assistance, someone to come to. In my book, I write a story about my business coach, Marlene, who I've had ever since Harv introduced me 2 years ago, 7-8 years ago, I think it is. And what happened one time was that I had invested, this is only about 2 years ago, I had invested a huge amount of money into this marketing opportunity, and we knew it was a go. We knew it was going to bring in a ton of business. We did all of our research. We brought in teams of people that were smarter than me, a lot smarter than me. And everyone said go. So I made the investment, and 6 months into the investment, we had not recouped a penny. And at the end of a year, we recouped $1,000 of this massive freaking investment. So 6 months into it, I am sweating bullets. And I'm saying to Marlene, you know what? I am so scared. I am so nervous. I don't know what the hell to do. That was a huge part of our income, our savings, our investments. It's like, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I invested all this. And she said, whoa, slow down. She said, there's one other client that I work with that you know very well. You guys are friends, and you guys have allowed me to cross-pollinate. You guys have allowed me to share each other's stories. And she said, David, he makes quite a bit more than you. And I just got off the phone with him, and he's in the identical same situation. At the time that you made your massive investment 6 months ago, he made his, and he has recouped nothing. Jay, in that story, my heart calmed down because the person that she was talking about is someone I have the most respect for as an entrepreneur. And to know that we were in the same situation, that couldn't have happened if I didn't have her as my coach.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I encourage people, in the book, we say 1,000 times, go to workshops, read books, but most importantly, hire someone to work with you every week for a year. That's where you're going to see the dramatic change in your ability to handle stress, handle rejection, and also handle success.
Indeed. And what's interesting about what you just said is that I'm willing to bet not only are you better at picking, you're also now able to handle the ebbs and flows, because I think that's also there's so much of that's part of everybody's journey, is like what we considered to be massive and like right now, you take my 5-year-old son, if I remove his Hot Wheels away, the world is over. Right? Right. It's Hot Wheels at the end of the day. But to him, oh no, it's like, oh no, everything is done, and we can still be that same way. We just redefined what our little Hot Wheel is really what ends up happening.
Absolutely. Do we have time to tell the Ray Higdon story?
Let's go for it.
Okay. So what we're talking here about an amazing entrepreneur. For people that have never heard him, Google him. He's just incredible. In 2009, at the end of the crash, the real estate crash, Ray contacted me and he asked me to meet him for lunch. We only live about an hour apart. So we met for lunch and he shared with me and he said, "You're not going to believe this, David. I've just lost my shirt. I lost everything. My house is going, they're taking my house. It's going into foreclosure. I'm a single dad. I've got 2 little boys. I really don't know what the hell to do." At the end of the lunch, Jay, I really had nothing to tell him other than this. You are an incredible salesperson. You are really grounded in reality. Find something you believe in to sell, Ray, and you're going to blow away your success in real estate. That's all I can tell you. Go. And that's the only advice I had for him, because he's got great energy. He is a great salesperson. Those are 2 things. And I really liked him, so he went on his way and I didn't hear from him. And all of a sudden, about 3 years later, I saw something online that he was involved with some kind of huge gift from this network marketing company he was with. And so I contacted him again and I found out that his story, which he writes in my book in much more detail than I'm going to tell you. After our meeting, he went and he picked up The Secret and he picked up the Law of Attraction, and he decided that he was going to use the principles in the book that all these other people had used to see checks coming in the mail and all this other crap. And it's in your brain. If you just think correctly and use the phrase "I am" before your affirmation, and if you say it with emotion, well, gosh darn it, checks have to come in the mail. So Ray found that the longer he did those techniques, the worse his financial situation became. And after about 60 days of trying all of this vision board stuff and everything else, he went and got a book on network marketing. He joined a network marketing company. And in the book, the guy said one thing that Ray remembered. The only thing you need to do is get 20 no's a day and you will become a millionaire. And Ray latched onto that one concept. And he went to his upline and he said, "I need to get 20 no's a day." And his upline held his feet to the fire, and he did. And he called until he got his 20. Now, sometimes it would take him 22 calls to get 20 no's.
Right.
Right.
Sometimes 19.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes 19, But all of a sudden, things started changing. 2 years later, he's earning over $50,000 a month. And then he went and tripled that. Mm-hmm. In 2016, right now, him and his wife that work together in the world of network marketing are multi-millionaires. They're helping so many people. But his beginning was extremely treacherous and scary, Jay. Just like a lot of us entrepreneurs, his back was against the wall, and he stuck with that 20-no philosophy to get to where he is today. See, that's the mindset of the entrepreneur. Throw out the fairy tales about joining network marketing and becoming a millionaire overnight. Or throw out the fairy tale.
Yeah.
Of doing what you think you love, but not putting the effort out. Throw out the fairy tale that anyone in their first year of real estate investment can get 15 homes and have an income of X amount of passive income a month. Those things are fairy tales. If it happens, we call it a miracle.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, in the real estate definition, I was that miracle, because we actually did that. But what I like about what you're saying, though, is it sets the expectation. I mean, but because I get this question a lot. And so I'm going to ask you, because I'm interested in your response. Because I tell people all the time, look, I was fighting for food. I was fighting for something other than, it wasn't nice. It wasn't it'd be nice one day if I could actually get a deal done. It was get a deal done or don't eat. So you have a different energy, a different intent, a different everything. You don't really care at that moment. So, but my question to you is, does one have to lose everything to make it go and work?
Well, that's a choice. It's like, does a person have to get 3 DUIs before they get sober?
I hope not.
But it happens all the time.
Right.
So that's a great question. Do you have to go and hit a bottom? Well, that's an individual choice, Jay. A bottom is an individual choice. Someone could listen to us today and go, you know what? I'm going to quit being such a lazy butt. Because I tell everyone how much I work. Listen to this. So in 2000, I got into the world of real estate coaching. And from 2000 to 2007 or 8, we had 70 real estate agents a week I coached in the world of business real estate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 70 a week. It was insane. And with all of them, I did the same exercise. I said, listen, before I hire or you pay me for the next group of sessions, over the next 4 weeks, this is what you're going to do. You're going to record every minute you spend working.
Sorry, that's funny. Most people keep telling because they don't know why I'm laughing right now.
Okay, well, you and I know this. So, and so they go, for how long? I said for 4 weeks, every day. You're going to break it down into 15 to 30-minute increments, and you're going to write everything you did. And I'm going to know if you're lying. Because if you said that it took you 30 minutes to make 2 prospecting calls, right, I'm going to ask you to tell me detail to detail how it was 15 minutes with each person. Now, it could be, but the odds are small.
Right.
If you tell me you spent 4 hours on prospecting calls, oh my God, I want to see the ledger.
Yep.
I want to see phone numbers and I want to see names, and I might call them. So, I was just being real with them. On average, the real estate agents within the first 30 days of working were putting in 3 hours a day, Jay.
Yeah.
3 hours a day. They were claiming 12 hours.
Right.
But when we put it down on paper, and I would always say to them, why did you get into real estate? And the number one answer is to be able to work when I wanted to. And I said, guess what? That's the exact opposite answer of an entrepreneur who wants to be successful.
Well, they were definitely working when they wanted to. They clearly didn't want to. They got that part right.
Yes. So, but it took 4 weeks to show them in paper, Jay, that they were pulling the wool over their own eyes, that they were never going to be successful working 3 hours a day. And then we would all of a sudden reality hit and we would get them into this incredible mode, and then they would be outrageously successful. But we needed that documentation on paper so that I could show them what it's going to take to be successful as a real estate agent. It's the same thing with real estate investing. It's the same thing with day trading. It's the same thing with anything. You've got to look at the real hours you're working, not the ones you're making up in your brain.
Yes, the brain. Very, very deceiving. We use what we call a daily performance tracker, and we assign point values to it for all of our students so that they can see. And I just let them know, it's like, look, if you're not scoring 20, depending on their life situation, 20, 40, or 80 points a day, you're not going to see anything that's going to make you happy. And since doing this, it's been much, much simpler to help people understand that, look, it's not that the information doesn't work. It's not that real estate doesn't work. It's you that's not working. And so this is what has to happen. And there's no shortcut to that. And so I guess my question is why do we resist it can't be that simple. It can't be just go work. It's got to be something else.
Well, there's a definition that we came up with in 1996 that answers the question that you just asked, Jay. And that is, why is it that people aren't willing to do what it takes to become successful or get sober or lose weight or save a relationship or whatever? And in 1996, we found that there was this thing, a definition that we put behind the words human nature. And when I say it, a lot of people laugh when I say it right away, but I'm going to actually be able to prove how this is almost in our DNA. The definition of human nature is our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort.
Yeah, I get that.
That's running the show. That's why infomercials that don't do squat for you sell millions and millions of products.
Oh, man.
Right? I was in the world of infomercials for a number of years in the 80s when I was first starting my thing. And, when Thigh Master came out, now we know physiologically, and anyone with a conscious mind knows that you can't simply put that thing between your legs and look like, some rock star. You can't look like some gorgeous model. You can't look like anything, but Jay, that stuff still sells today.
Wow.
And, and people without any extra money are spending money on lottery tickets. And that's human nature. Our desire to get the most out of life with minimal effort. Real estate agents, until they work with someone like yourself possibly or someone like me, a lot of people get into the world of real estate so they can set their own hours. It's all about getting the most out of life with minimal effort. And it begins in childhood. And I'm going to go into a little bit of psychology if I can. unless you were born in a highly abusive, addicted, or an incredibly impoverished area of the world, whenever a child cries a certain way, they're fed. Whenever a child cries a different way, their diaper's changed. Whenever a child smiles for the first time, it is the most glorious experience. And so kids are used to getting their needs met without effort, right? Mm. And then from a psychological perspective, it all comes crashing down at potty training. And we know through psychological studies, and this is my background, that when a child is used to being wheeled down Saks Fifth Avenue, and all of a sudden they're being pulled out of their thing and they're being told to sit on an ice cold toilet seat and to do what mommy showed you at home, the world is no longer a kind, fun.
I don't want to do. Yes, okay, I get it.
Right? And then if you want ice cream, you have to finish your peas. And then if you want to play, you have to pick up your room. And then, and all of a sudden, Jay, getting what we want with minimal effort becomes a thing in the past, but in our subconscious, we still want it, which is why we buy the ridiculous books that say manifest wealth effortlessly and blah, 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 blah.
Wow. I got it. I get it. I totally understand it. Yet at the same time, we must got a war against that in so many different ways. If we truly want something, because I've also found that sometimes I just didn't really want that thing.
Yeah.
And
sure.
That's okay too.
That's a great point, Jay, because sometimes we're going after things to satisfy someone else, not ourselves.
Yeah, that was college, but that's a whole nother story. We're not going to talk about that.
Right. But let's say that you have a friend, who's doing really great in network marketing or in real estate or in day trading or something, and you see the money they're bringing in and you want to be like them. But let's also say the reality is you hate day trading, you hate real estate, and you hate network marketing. Well, you might jump into these things because of human nature. You think that they're making tons of money because maybe they even said it somewhere that, I used to work 40 hours a week and now I work 20 and make 10 times as much. But what I've found in the world of investing, real estate, and network marketing is that those people, unless it was like a miracle or an experience that you had, where sometimes timing does work. Sometimes you happen to be at the right time with the right mentor, with the right real estate market or the right network marketing company, and maybe 1 out of a million times someone will shoot up the sky to success without putting 50, 60, 70 hours a weekend. But that's rare.
Oh, I still put in the 50, 60, 70 hours a week. But yeah, all that other stuff you said happened at the same time too.
Yeah. And so then we go, oh my God, I am so blessed. I am so blessed to have these breaks, to have these opportunities to do what I love and to have the things or the people that believed in me or whatever it might be. But if that doesn't happen, I'm going to go back to something I mentioned at the beginning. Please make sure you're doing something you enjoy.
Right? What's really funny about that process, though, about those statements, is oftentimes I know for myself, I've confused something that I've enjoyed with something that I actually want to do, because there's this yin and yang. It's like there's a part of things like, for example, real estate. I don't necessarily like the paperwork. Okay,
right.
That's an understatement. I can't stand the paperwork. So it doesn't mean. It just means I don't do it. Someone on my team does it. It has to get done, but I don't do it. And figuring out that balance has been, I know it's been a struggle for me. Figuring out even what I like to do, it's been a process. It's been a journey to figure out all of these pieces. What would you say is a way that someone could find out, like someone who's been in a job their entire time and they don't really know, they just know they don't want what they have right now?
Yeah. So let's go back to taking risks.
Okay.
I don't ever tell someone to gamble their life savings on, on an opportunity as an entrepreneur. I always say, make sure that you have, some people say 6 months. We say a year, Jay. If you're going to jump into real estate investing or day trading or network marketing, and you're really jumping because you hate what you do, you better have a year set up where that you're okay. Some people could make it a lot shorter, and if you do, more power to you. But that's a risk. So what do we say then? We say do it part-time, right? Mm-hmm. go ahead and I'm going to go back to this again. And I know I sound like a broken record, but get a freaking coach, a mentor. Get someone that is experienced, that's successful. When we train people to become motivational speakers and inspirational speakers, we have manuals, just like you have your work. We have manuals that we take people through to show them how to address the crowd, approach the crowd, how to write a script, how to practice it, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Then we have people that'll come to us that for 10 years have tried to become inspirational speakers on their own. And we go, oh my gosh, if it wasn't me, why didn't you hire someone 10 years ago?
Right.
So for all of our listeners right now, if you're on that fence and you're doing something part-time, even if you're doing something part-time, you need an expert, a consultant. You need someone who's done it, who's successful, that can cut the learning curve short for you.
But Dave, I don't have the money for that.
Okay. So Jay, you probably know this statistic. Something like 60% of Americans this summer took $5,000 put $5,000 on a credit card to go on vacation. 60%. That 5%, let's say it's averaging out at 14 to 19% interest, will not be paid off by next year.
Yeah, right.
Right? So what if you said to the family, hey, Daddy or Mommy is going to do some preparation to kick financial butt in the future. So I know this is going to hurt, but next year we're going on a $1,000 vacation and I'm investing $4,000 monthly into someone to help Daddy or Mommy build a business. $4,000 for the year. So that'd be $300 a month approximately.
Right now, I'm just glad you're saying these things and not me. I'm just like, yes, because we can come up with ways. And you're just proving the point. It's not that there isn't a way to get to where you want to go. It's we might not have the willingness to do it. So I've got two things I want to cover, and then we can be done, because I just realized that I could have this conversation with you for a long time. So the book, how can we go find it? Because there's clearly more in there that we need more of. What's going to be the best way for us to get more of what you are out there doing, or finding out how to grab a copy?
Jay, we're offering all of your listeners Chapter 1 for free. The name of the book is Positive Thinking Will Never Change Your Life, but this book will. The Myth of Positive Thinking, the Reality of Success. And they can just go to our website, talkdavid.com, talk like you and I are talking, talkdavid.com. They can get Chapter 1 for free. In Chapter 1, not only do we give success stories, but we say, why did we come up with the book? And here's something else interesting, Jay. When I wrote the book, I started writing the outline over a year ago. And the day I woke up to write the outline, I started thinking to myself, for 25 years then, I've interviewed the most incredible brains in the world of personal growth. I'm going to send 6 of them, all New York Times bestselling authors. I'm going to send 6 of them a pitch letter saying that I'm writing a book to expose the myth of positive thinking. And I want you to be a part of it. And here's what the book's going to look like. Jay, within 48 hours, all 6 New York Times bestselling authors not only confirmed that they want to be a part of the book, but each of them said the same thing. We are so grateful someone is writing about the reality of success.
Nice.
So people can get Chapter 1 for free at talkdavid.com. And we also have for people that are just becoming entrepreneurs and they want to understand money management a little bit more, we also have a free 6-video series, the 4 blocks to financial freedom, that they can get on the site too.
Excellent. That's going to be perfect for them. Most importantly, I want to hear your answer to this final question as well, because it relates to that person, I believe, very, very well. And it's something that I know I think you're going to have one of the most interesting answers. It's going to be pretty cool. So, right now, there's probably a person who's listened this entire time. They've gotten excited. They're like, oh man, yes, this is great. And they've had this great idea before, though, Dave. And what happens is as they, approach the precipice of their journey and they're ready to just leap, or think they're ready to leap, that voice comes back into their head. And occasionally they're actually related to that voice that's in their head. And it keeps coming up at all of those moments. I mean, they could be standing in front of the superhero outfit store right now, ready to pick out their capes and ready to go. Yet, that voice is so persistent and it's there. Now, let's pretend for a second that in the next 48 hours that they're going to actually do what you suggest. What would you tell them?
Number one is to write down the benefits of making this massive move. If the benefits aren't huge, it's going to be very hard overcoming that fearful voice of the subconscious mind. So we better make sure that what we want to accomplish is going to bring greatness into our life. Does that make sense, Jay?
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, if it isn't something that's going to give you freedom of time and money to live where you want and money to help other people, if it's not going to be massive, then the odds are we will never overcome that voice. So number one, make sure the end result of doing the work you're thinking about doing is really awesome. It's got to be freaking awesome. And then number two, you know what I'm going to say. You've got to find someone to help. You've got to find an accountability, a partner, a counselor, a coach, whatever it is. You can't do this on your own. You know, we just had a woman contact me this is about 6 months ago, and she wanted to write her book. And I told her that I help people write books. I'm not a ghostwriter, but I teach them how to write books in a really quick fashion, very organized. She asked the price. I told her. She goes, you know what? I'm going to do it on my own. Well, guess what? She's back. And she found that no matter how many books that she read on how to write a book, that she was dumbfounded at the end of the day. So now she's back. In 7 days, she's accomplished more than she did in 6 months. And it's not just because she's working with me. If she worked with someone else that knows how to write a book, they could have helped her just as much. But the point is, make sure the benefits of what you're going to do are huge and make sure you're not doing it alone.
Love it 100%. I definitely appreciate your willingness to continue to share what it is that you know, your wisdom of the decades, and doing so here with us at the Cashflow Diary.
Oh, Jay, this has been a blast. I have loved the energy that you give, the help that you're giving to your listeners. Absolutely loved it. This has been just so much fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means you probably should get over to talkdavid.com, as in right now. Yes, you're on a mobile device already, so you can't tell me you don't have the internet. Get over there, make it happen, because, you know, the law of diminishing intent will set in the longer you wait. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.